Unbelievable.
Unbelievable.
That's actually unbelievable. Yeah, sorry, I'm not interested anymore.
That's so rude. Like,
You laughed in the face of your last interlocutor on this issue.
that's so rude to write to somebody. I've got a million better things than to talk to you. Imagine if I told Shakespeare, hey, let's have a stream when we discuss the Torah, and then at the last second before the stream, I write Shakespeare, you know what, I'm bored now. I think I've got 1 million better things to do. And then I play a video game, That would be pretty rude.
That's actually unreal.
Like, that would be pretty rude indeed. Oh my gosh.
That's actually disgraceful.
Yeah, it is a bit. Not gonna lie.
Well, that's fine. I wasn't really depending on him having the conversation anyways. That just kind of expedites things, actually.
Oh.
It just expedites them in a really disappointing way. I had some respect for the guy.
I should do some soundbite. I should do some wacky soundbite.
That's actually really pathetic.
I just want to say,
Exactly.
imagine
All the people.
I had some
Imagine all the people living life in peace. Whoa.
respect for the what until that DM, until they cancel the conversation. Like, I don't know if I could fathom being so entitled.
So entitled that I ask you to talk and then I say I've got a million better things. Sheesh.
That me canceling a conversation with you warrants that flip.
So entitled.
That's just like, and that it expedites things as if what, like you already felt like I was gonna be fucking written off anyway. I don't know, like, but it was almost worth doing it in that way because
Yeah, it's worth being rude. It's worth being rude. It's worth being rude.
that's kind of that level of like maybe slightly rude way of pulling out of the conversation.
Slightly
That's all
rude.
it takes to show me like who you really are. Well, cool.
Slightly rude. I should write a Dakifesto. We should all together write a Dakifesto on stream. Press 1 if you want to write a Dakifesto on stream with me. Do a Dakvestigation and write a Dakifesto with me on stream with links, clips, clip chimps, and stuff, We can do it. We can write a Dakifesto together. Like a research stream for the Dakifesto. Oh, right, that's true. COVID did ruin that song. Yeah, let's do it.
He then went on to spend the next few days tweeting about me. At one point, even claiming I was ready to throw my trans viewers under the bus at the drop of a hat for the sake of my ego.
True!
He tweeted a lot of these. This is me on transgenocide, apparently. Well, that sounds kind of boring.
That sounds kind of boring. I love this YouTuber, by the way. I love this YouTuber. Like, I super like the pitch meeting videos. We should watch a pitch meeting.
Boring. Okay. I was ready to throw my...
Barely an
Tweet is
inconvenience.
insane. At this point, it's basically clear that Loner Box is ready to throw his trans viewers under the bus at the drop of a hat for the sake of his ego.
I
It's
mean,
honestly just sad. Everyone who worked on addressing him on this issue had respect for him until he showed how insincere he was. Bearing in mind, this is
that is how you acted. You lay in the bed that you make.
after he's seen the second conversation with Polly, where we agree to disagree, have a polite conversation. She doesn't accuse me of being cruel to her or TOS baiting or any of that. that's someone else's accusation, and we just go our separate ways.
We go our separate ways.
But because you want to be part of it, and I don't let you, or I change my mind about it.
What do you mean I don't let you? What do you mean you want it to be? What? You want to be a part of it, but I don't let you, or I changed my mind about it? You asked him to talk. Loner Box is just proving from the start that he never engaged in this in good faith and was just humoring Polly in an infantilizing way. Like, this makes no sense. You want to be a part of this, but I don't let you, or I changed my mind. What?
That means I'm going to throw my trans viewers under the bus.
You asked him to talk.
There are trans people in this chat right now, right? This guy is speaking for you right now. Like,
I am in this, I'm not in this chat, but I'm here. And Shakespeare is here. And Brina and many other people are here. We are here.
what the fuck? Okay.
What? Nobody's...
However, after hearing about how much work and how many workers he had devoted he had devoted to researching for this topic, I was curious to see what arguments he had come up with.
Okay.
Here are some of my impressions.
Impressions, okay.
I'm not su-
Impressions. Why not just talk to him? Why do some weird impressions? That is so wacky.
Sure why, but he seems to think I ignored or misunderstood Lemkin's original definition of genocide, even though he sees me allude to it several times in the second debate with Polly. This claim comes up quite a lot, like I'm almost 100% sure it came from Sunday. I couldn't find the exact clip, but people who were watching his streams saying like, yeah, I misremembered or misconstrued Lemkin.
Yeah, with the e and the mon mama. Did you know in Polish, mama is basically the neutral word for mom. You like the Polish equivalent of mom is mama, and the Polish equivalent of mother is matka, and the Polish equivalent of mommy is mamusia. So mama, matka, mamusia. See, we have learned a bit of things today. Don't tell me that you don't learn any languages with Lucy, okay?
Lemkin's definition and reasoning as to his formulation to the definition of genocide in the first and second polypeople debate shows I haven't researched the topic well. I think he said it in the research stream, but it's weird that he would accuse me of that because I allude to Lemkin's definition like several times in this debate with Polly, and he's watching me do it because
But just because you allude to something does not follow that you understand it. Ah, okay.
but I think the reason for it being narrow is because the word genocide was literally coined to describe a crime without a name. Specifically the Holocaust, also the Armenian genocide, which is why not so much in... So Holocaust and Armenian genocide, that's Lemkin. I have problems with the way it's used in law, like quite a lot of problems. Cultural genocide is just not recognized in law, which is a huge problem because the Uyghurs in China, Canadian residential schools. I think the point of... So it's like, I've referred to Lemkin's definition since the beginning of this thing, but...
Yeah, but that doesn't mean that you understand it.
Yeah, like I think...
Like you can allude to something without understanding it. Yeah.
The only reason political category isn't in that definition is because Stalin didn't want it to go there. Again, political affiliation, it was in Lemkin's definition. It was taken out by the UN. So funny that I
I'm waiting.
wouldn't know that if I didn't know about Lemkin. Yeah.
Well,
So,
sure. I mean,
I wonder why. But
when you have a bunch of
but yeah.
genocide doers making the rules, it's going to...
beside that, I think the problem is that they think Lemkin is like a big own because apparently Lemkin's definition does allow for the situation in America to be a genocide, even though it...
I mean, that's a fair point. Like, countries that sort of, when it comes to states, like ruling what a genocide is, it does become a bit of a conflict of interests because states commit genocides. Like, I think it's a fair thing to say on Polly's part. I think so, yeah. Like, genocide doers.
Kind of doesn't, but yeah, right. At one point, he tries to make the case for cultural genocide by comparing today's. Sorry, just another thing of this. I don't know if the next time I debate something, I just need to like actually say, oh, by the way, Lemkin coined the term, and then here are his contribution. Like, just, I don't know. At one
What?
point, he tries to make the case for cultural genocide by comparing today's situation to the treatment of indigenous children in the United States and Canada, describing it as exact corollaries.
Right.
Yeah. Now, in terms of cultural genocide, with the case of trans people, we actually do have exact corollaries to the case of indigenous children in Canada and the United States.
I would say that the case of indigenous children in Canada goes beyond calling it a cultural genocide. I would just call it a genocide, you know? I think it's really weird how native genocide is only mentioned, how not native genocide is only mentioned when in relation to Canada, like America isn't guilty of similar crimes, makes me feel like he's on red of genocide. Yeah. Yeah, you know? I would say that genocide of indigenous people in North America is like genocide, you know? Not just cultural. Same with the Ainu in Japan, by the way. There's a genocide of the Ainu in Japan, you know?
The forced transfer of children from one group to another. Children in some states have been removed from their parents' homes because they have been allowed to transition early on.
Now, this is something you're going to notice a lot. Once you go in to this topic trying to prove there's a genocide, you're probably going to read a few stories in the press and misconstrue them if your goal is to put them under the definition of genocide.
I mean, that is your assumption. Can you prove it?
As far as I know, I could be wrong.
Oh, as far as you know. So first you assume that President Sunday just read a few headlines and made it fit, but then you say that you don't know, that you assume, and that you could be wrong. Got it.
I don't think any kids have been taken away from their parents
You don't think,
because they allowed their kids to transition.
so you don't know.
What
Okay.
happened in Texas, the directive I mentioned already at the beginning
You
of
don't
this,
know.
is that he issued a
That's
directive
great.
saying that if parents allowed kids to transition, they would be put under investigation for child abuse. They weren't able to make it child abuse just to let your kid transition. I think I don't know if Greg Abbott was just hoping that he would investigate the parents of a trans kid and find out that the parents had been like forcing this reluctant kid
That's
to
great.
take hormones because they're like a liberal groomer or whatever. I have no idea. But
I'd be literally peeing and pooping in the well. Spreading hearses for people to quell their guilty parents. Wow.
as far as I know with that story, 9 families
As far as I know, but I don't know. What?
were put under investigation. I think a couple of them had meetings, like one meeting with an investigator, and then the investigations were blocked by a federal judge. As far as I know, I don't think any kids have been taken away just because their parents were allowing them to transition.
As far as you know.
But the problem again is like, and you know, he can make mistakes like that when he's talking to someone like me because I'm a pretty left-wing person, pretty left.
Because you don't care to check. Okay.
Wing audience.
Got it.
Challenging that optically always looks like I'm doing the downplaying thing, but like if you took that to someone who was on the fence,
You don't have to challenge it. You can check it, at least. What do you mean? Just because you check something, it doesn't mean you're challenging it. That's nonsense, dog. You know what makes you down? You know what makes you see? What makes it seem that you're like downplaying it? If you don't even bother checking it and say stuff like, as far as I know, but I don't really know, but I think so, but I'm pretty sure. So great. Why is he giving so much good faith to his political opponents and not to his allies? I have never understood the still meaning of living figure is as bad as straw manning. Yeah, I know. Nonsense. Facts don't care about my arguments and debate. Yeah.
And tried to say that there was an equivalent of an indigenous cultural genocide happening in Texas. Like, you've lost them because that hasn't happened yet. Like,
I mean, you don't know even.
about the fact that they're trying to, and it's fucking obscene that they're trying to, but there's a when you notice that there are all these like institutions
But you don't care enough to prevent it. That's the point. You don't see it as a genocidal action, so you don't care enough to prevent it. You say it's obscene, but you do not care enough to work towards prevention. There's a video of cops taking a kid from her home because she was being given affirming care. Majority Report covered it, Vosh covered it, but well, I guess Loner Box does not care enough to cover it. And for that, the anti-trans sports bill, which targets trans women, most of them target trans women, allow for genital checks of kids under 18. Like, they have to confirm one's genitals match their birth marker, which is, I would call that sexual abuse, to be honest. I would call that the sexual abuse of children to inspect genitals, 1,000,000,000%. Like, imagine such a law. Checking, I don't think I have to explain how intrusive this is and how genuinely disturbing and traumatizing it is, you know? Like, this is abuse.
barriers in the way.
Creepy.
I don't know, like if the situation is bad enough as it is, you don't actually need to like lie about it. You don't need to
Like, this is sexual abuse of children.
do that. Throughout his research stream, President Sunday repeatedly brings up a story from Florida where the
Also, he's calling it all obscene, but he's still telling us to not use harsh language because he does not care to prevent it.
medical board voted to start drafting a rule that would ban puberty blockers, HRT, and surgeries for trans youths under 18. This is just a story about the bill. Everything about this hearing was reprehensible. Their expert testimony was riddled with bunk science and was delivered by people who had no background in trans-related research. Sabercat, is that an example of a kid who has been taken? I think I've read that article. Oh, sorry. We'll come back to it. Again, I could be wrong, and that would change things if it were the case. Everything about this hearing was
Then you wrote a 30 pages document and you did not even care to check? This is a bit embarrassing. Huh? How do you write a 30-page document and not check what's happening? Utah tried to pass a law to legislate one trans person, and the governor literally threw it out, not because it was unjust, but because he felt that they could police one person without law. Right. In Arizona, you can't use the state insurance, which is for marginalized and impoverished people. Well, you cannot get any gender-affirming care, puberty blockers, HRT surgery, etc. with it. So that basically excludes many people because those things are quite expensive.
Their expert testimony was riddled with bunk science and was delivered from people who had no background in trans-related research. One of them was a dentist. When they began the public comment section, 8 of the first 9 speakers were detransitioners and only 1 had received gender-affirming care as a child. Only one trans person was allowed to testify, and the hearing ended 45 minutes early. But for Sunday, this story also contained evidence that the people in the hearing were acting with genocidal intent.
Well, yeah.
His evidence here is a paragraph which mentions protesters chanting the words, "The blood is on your hands," to which a board member responds with, "That's okay." This is him reading the article.
Okay.
At one point, an audience member
Whoa.
yelled that trans
Sorry, loud.
youths would suffer if the board voted to bar care. The blood is on your hands, quote unquote. To which Zachariah responded, "That's okay."
Yeah.
Is this recorded? Is there a video recording of this?
So what's
That's an
Loner Box gonna
insane
say about it?
statement. That's okay? Like, not even arguing the point, just saying that's okay.
So what's Loner Box gonna say about it? I have a feeling I know, but let's
Loner
see.
Box, if you're watching this, this is a statement by a medical board. They are being told their policies will result in deaths, that the blood will be on their hands. The retort is not to say, no, the blood will not be on our hands. These are multifaceted. The causes of these deaths are multifaceted, and we can address these by other means than these surgeries, yada yada, or some other bullshit. No, he flat out just says, no, that's okay. There are ways to bullshit this easily for a disinterested audience.
Also, doesn't this show that he's right a letter ago? The meanings approach doesn't work? Yeah, it kinda does, doesn't it?
That would fly. Zachariah doesn't do this. The board member doesn't do this. He says, after cutting the public comment period short, 45 minutes left, he only allows one more person to testify. Someone in the audience says the blood is on your hands.
Yeah, I think so.
Trans youths would suffer, and Zachariah responds with, "That's okay." Loner Box, that's an admittance. At one point, an audience member yelled that trans...
I think people in chat are already starting to figure out the problem here, but he refers back to this quote several
Let's read the chat. Of course, since this is a Steven Universe streamer, the chat will be very Steven Universe-esque. I could definitely agree that some board members have genocidal mindset towards trans people. This is so performative. Age of Giga Chad. I know, right? The outrage and shock. It was that the investigation was blocked by the courts. Oh, it's a medical board? Okay, saying something at a hearing isn't a statement by a medical board. Come on. People are effing yelling from the audience. What response do you think you're going to get, honestly? A medical board which wouldn't fly in most places besides Florida. He's just acting like things are ridiculous without establishing it. So, what is the problem?
times throughout the stream, and even uses it
So
in
what's the problem?
response to hearing me talk about being able to infer genocidal intent from Hitler. So here's just a few.
This is a matter of record now. Once again, Florida Medical Board votes to ban gender-affirming care. At one point, an audience member yells that trans youths would suffer if the board voted to bar care. Quote, "The blood is on your hands," unquote. To which Zachariah, a board member, responded, quote,
Yeah, I think so.
"That's okay," unquote.
Keep in mind that the argument between... I'm gonna sneeze. The argument between President Sunday and Poly people has nothing to do with the transgenocide topic. Even though apparently Loner Box will try to tie these two topics together later, as he alluded to.
Okay.
Whether the propaganda statements I cite...
Seriously, someone needs to tell DGG that callousness is not the same thing as a personality.
Quote, the perpetuation of the race of Aborigines is not to be desired, unquote. Should weigh as intent may be hard to judge. I give weight to the actions that were excused by the words. Some redefinitions of genocide, see Fine and Gigliotti, have made persistence in a destructive course equivalent to intent to destroy.
The
And I
faces
agree
he
with
makes.
this. And the reason why I'm bringing this up is because this case of the Florida Medical Board, when a medical board member is told the blood is on your hands, people will die from this, when he says that's okay, he has been made aware. He has been made absolutely aware of the consequences of the policies that these people are pursuing.
Yeah.
And he's owning it.
So, again, like, the reason I have such an issue with people bringing up, like, trying to do the genocide is, like, they keep on trying to draw corollaries like this that just have no... When he's talking about persistence in a destructive course, he's talking about the treatment of indigenous people in Australia, where the state was committing massacres and also dragging kids to state reserves to force them to learn a different language in order to give them to white families, often as laborers. But yeah, also, I don't know if a crowd chanting at you is you being made aware. We'll get to that.
Oh, so the crowd was too rude. Okay. The crowd was too rude. Loner Box would have looked at the Bengal famine and say, nah, that's just bad policy, not genocide. I mean, that is what tankies do with Holodomor.
That. Even when I talk about impossible to do Hitler, like if someone wanted to say that Hitler sounds like a genocidal guy, you could have said that from like 1919.
Sure.
Because he was already saying Germany will be better once every Jew is removed. And I'm like, okay.
Well, he wanted to
There's no
remove all
way
the
you're
Jews
doing
from
this
Europe,
without-
right? I mean, he was
yeah.
pretty open about
Yeah,
that.
yeah. Yeah, there's no way you're doing this without killing people in the end, right? Like, you
Right.
can try all your Madagascar plans or whatever the fuck they tried all the way up until 1940, but the inevitable conclusions, like, we know now, like, it's always the same.
Okay, you have board members in Florida, medical board members, responding to, there will be blood on your hands with, that's okay.
Loner Box is just sad because he has zero expression. Like, he's just cold, stone-faced all the time. He has zero, like, body language personality. Loner Box brings up Sunday Poly issue that is unrelated to the transgenocide discussion so that then he can say neither of them are reliable. Yeah, that's dishonest.
Hey, they've been made abundantly, it's been made abundantly clear, people will die from this. We have the statistics. We know what the medication, what the treatments that are on offer right now, where they are on offer. We know what they do. We know they save lives. Taking those out of the equation, once we already know they save lives, that is killing those people. They know this. They are fine with it. 41% jokes abound.
Did he actually... Never mind.
Why?
For reference, here is the clip of what apparently constitutes genocidal intent. Did he say
Okay.
board members, even though it was only one? Oh, okay. Doesn't matter. This is the hearing where the that's okay thing happened.
All right.
I want before you can come to the podium. You'll be the last speaker for the day, and let me finish. Let me finish. Don't shout. You're not going to win. Let me finish. What we're going to do, we'll give you an email for this.
I'm surprised nobody is pointing out the whole don't shout, you are not going to win. Don't shout, you are not going to win. To me, that's even worse than the whole that's okay. You know, don't shout, you're not going to win. You know? Loner Box thinks that having emotions, being concerned, being human would argue is not good optics, and that you need to show no emotion and be completely disinterested. Yeah.
State of Florida. You send your information, And whatever information what information you send will be a part of the record. You know what? Okay. You know what? Okay, that's fine. Okay, Miss Patty Sullivan, you may proceed. That's okay. That's okay. Let's have some decency and quorum here. Patty Sullivan, you may proceed.
So,
I will explain what's happening here in a moment, okay? Let's let Loner Box speak, and then I will say my piece, okay? Because actually, the whole thing about that's okay is not just about the words that's okay, okay? Like, that's okay is just a part of it, but it's just about something else, and I will explain it in a moment, okay?
just to be clear, this guy is an enormous piece of shit. This whole hearing is completely like fucked. But if you're hearing that and you think that's him saying, I have now been made aware that my policies will kill people, but actually that's cool. Like, if you think this is your genocidal intent, I mean...
Okay. In fact, he is fine underplaying intention because honestly, what the hell he thinks the aim is by anti-LGBTQ plus movement. Thus, he's more concerning of legal frameworks than prevention. Yeah, exactly. That's perfectly said. His argument that until there is no camps, yet no genocide, genocide is not a process. It is an event. Exactly, you know? It's like I said yesterday, if you want to prevent things when the final solution begins, then you're not preventing anything, you know? But I would like to talk about this hearing a bit. This is strange to me that Loner Box admits that the whole hearing is horrible, because it's not about hearing him say that's okay. That's only like the cherry on top. The thing is looking at the big picture, looking at the whole thing holistically, seeing that there's this basically ridiculous hearing that is about passing an anti-trans law, and that the people involved are okay with this farce and just ignore people's concerns by saying, that's okay, let's just move things along and pass this law. Keep in mind what the first words were. Don't shout, you will not win. You know? A farce hearing ended with a dismissal, you know? This is what gives us the intent. Not just the words, it's okay. The whole dismissal of the hearing being a farce is what gives us the intent. That making the hearing actually correct or even fair does not matter because they have a bill to pass and they want to do it. That gives us the intent, not the exact words, that's okay. Does that make sense? Do you understand what I'm trying to say? Does that make sense what I'm saying? Did my explanation make any sense to you? You're basically doing the Zen and stuff with the race between two persons, one slower. Each moment you stop, the slower who started earlier will still be winning. Yeah. But the process is that the faster started later is still going closer. He's doing this staticking snapshot. Yeah. Like, it's not about that, just the words, that's okay. It's about the whole picture of this hearing being a ridiculous farce.
And I think that's the worst thing as well, is that you've got an event that is so unambiguously wrong in every single way But because you're trying to prove that it's a genocide, you have to go that one step further and say that you've got like a bloodthirsty legislator acting with genocidal intent because
I mean, yeah, literally. Like if you go to the lengths of creating a farce meeting that is guaranteed to pass a bigoted law, then yeah, I would go that quote unquote one step further. Because it's not just about the words that are being said. Like, I would say that the words "that's okay" just reinforce the overall point. But actions speak much louder than words, and I would say that the actions on this hearing speak a lot louder than just the words "that's okay." You know?
he said that's okay.
Like there's like the saying actions speak louder than words exists for a reason. Even if the person would answer to the thing, to the whole blood will be on your hands with, oh no, we will do our best for the blood not to be on anyone's hands, actions still speak louder than words. You know?
The people are dying. First of all, it's not untoward for Republicans to be bad with science, right? Like, Republicans were made aware plenty of times about their COVID policies that got people killed. That doesn't mean Republicans were committing genocide against themselves, even though they were made aware plenty of times that.
Oh my god. Oh my gosh. What do you mean about... Oh my god. I cannot with this argument. Republicans were committing genocide on themselves. I don't even know what to answer to this. There were guys who felt empathy to of orphans, and exactly that is why they pushed execution them. Okay. I would like to get this out of the... I never thought I would have to say this out loud, okay? I never thought I would have to say this out loud. It has nothing to do with the argument, okay? But if a member of a group starts genociding other members of the same group, it doesn't mean that the person is genociding himself. I cannot believe I have to say this. If like... if a small group of a large community started genociding that community, it would not mean that the small number of people from that community would be genociding themselves. I never thought I would have to say something like this, but here we are. I did not think that this required explaining.
Their policies were killing people.
Oh my gosh.
But Sunday is challenged by one of his chatters on the framing of this clip, and he responds to say that not only does he not know, but that he also doesn't care.
Without any specialist training, so that the actual experts were drowned out. And then afterwards, in response to people calling out,
yeah, that's okay is probably just like, that's okay, move on, like, calm down. Yeah, it's just him trying to move the session on, yeah. Which, again, it's not like the guy is pretty disgusting, but it's that same thing again as well. Like, if you try to present that argument to someone who isn't already on your side, you're going to look like you're fucking insane. But, yeah.
Their blood is on your hands. He says, that's fine. If he was saying that's fine to somebody else, by all means, I would love to see some record of somebody saying something. Like, I don't know what to say.
Jewish Germans under the Nazis were Germans. Would you argue against that? Yeah, exactly, Brina, exactly. That defeats his own argument. Like, basically, Germans were genociding themselves. You know? That's a great point, Brina. to bring up that Jewish Germans were Germans. You know, a lot of them consider themselves German first. You know, Jewishness can be complicated. Like many people have, as much as I dislike nations and nation states, many Jewish people identify strongly with their nation identity, you know, apart from the Jewishness aspect.
Like, as far as I'm concerned, I don't care. I don't care if he didn't mean full-bloodedly, yeah, I'm fine with having that blood in our hands. I don't even care if he was responding to that person.
Now, you would care if you were trying to prove genocidal intent, but GigaChat.
Because the fact of the matter is, he would have their...
Like, it's like the age-old thing that happens, like when people who discover that are Jewish are asked, are you Polish or Jewish? And they say, I am Polish, but also I am Jewish. I am both, you know? Like, it's a matter of personal identity, you know? Like with many other things. Identity can be a very personal
their
thing.
blood on their hands, on his hands. The board would have their blood on their hands. So they can speak with their actions, and they can show that they're not fine with it. Otherwise, I don't really give a shit.
Yeah, many people thought it is insane to think that nation would have guess they will never be able to do so much evil. But it happened. Giga Chad, oh my god, go touch some grass on her. Giga Chad, oh my gosh. Giga Chad, if you say unironically things like Giga Chad, then you are part of the Steven universe, okay?
Oh no, are we not being cosmically charitable to the in the case of Zachariah, quite probably criminal, but he wasn't caught for it. To this board stacked with liars and sociopaths.
Exactly.
Predating on the bigotry of the popular culture. Lying about the state
Yep.
of medical research on this
Yep.
issue. To the end of killing a whole bunch of people for...
Wait, President Sunday is just being correct here. What's wrong with what he's saying here? Yeah, he's correct. What? What's wrong with what he's saying here? Yeah, of course I would not be charitable to a group like that. That conducts a farce hearing.
My heart bleeds purple porpoise pus.
After admitting that he hasn't
I mean, would you take a different stance, Loner Box? Would you be super charitable to members of the board that conduct a hearing like that? Like,
seen the clip and that he doesn't care whether or not it proves the thing he's saying it does, he goes on to use this point in a debate with Sonsol anyway. The way he rephrases what he read in the article is especially telling.
Sonsol, we have the Florida Medical Board saying that they are okay. It's perfectly okay that as a result of their decisions, trans youths will die. Sonsol.
Is that what they said? You know when people accuse each other in this space of being bad faith? This is like when every fiber of your being is bad faith. But
not being charitable to a board that does a farce hearing in order to pass an anti-trans law is being super bad faith, I see. It is also irrelevant if this doctor thought he was really helping others because he's not. Yeah, exactly. Ridiculous.
this bit,
Like, yes, okay. If you're a doctor that takes part in a farce hearing, then you're not really wanting to help. And it's not bad faith to not be charitable to a group like that. Again, one can push genocide with the best of their heart and empathy to those eradicated. Exactly.
properly fucked my head. Oh god. All right. He also seems to be a little confused about how medical transition works. He seems to believe that the process of full medical transition is evidence of genocide because it renders the patient infertile. Now, I've put full medical transition in quotation marks here because
Okay, I will read this again. He seems to believe that the process of full medical transition is evidence of genocide because it renders the patient infertile. No. No, Loner Box. Okay, I'm not sure it helps me to watch this. I am out. Sorry, Elizabeth. This makes me physically sick. It's okay. Don't feel forced to watch something like this, okay? You know what makes it genocidal? Forcing people to undergo sterilizing procedures in order to be able to legally change to your preferred gender. That is the genocidal part, making it mandatory to undergo sterilizing procedures in order to legally change your gender. That is what makes it so. Not just undergoing full transition. This is bad faith, Loner Box. I will now call it out. This is bad faith. Okay? This is what I will call bad faith. Saying that President Sunday is confused about how medical transition works when we know what people mean. Demon Mama has explained this very clearly many times. Some people want to have children first before fully transitioning, but also want to legally change into their preferred gender. Some people don't want to undergo bottom surgery at all, and that should be okay. Okay? Alright.
it's not the most politically correct term. It implies like people who only get top surgery are like incomplete or some shit. But yeah, I'll just go with what he was saying here.
D. Imposing measures to prevent births within the group. This one's a little less known. Once again, it is a condition of many transition treatments that you are sterilized in the process. E.
So when he's saying trans treatments there, it's a condition of
D.
many trans treatments that you're sterilized in the process. Like, when I first heard that, like, yeah, bottom surgery makes you infertile. I think for trans women, HRT makes you infertile as well. Or not completely. It's got a chance of reducing fertility. I think for trans men, it's a little bit less so the case.
Oh
but,
my god.
I think
Loner Box.
what he's-
Loner Box, you should not be speaking on subjects that you do not understand.
referring to here is old gender recognition laws, where they say that like
What do you mean? Oh, they're still present in some places, right?
Sweden until 2012 was an example, or lots of parts of Europe actually, where you couldn't get legal gender recognition unless you got quote unquote top and bottom surgery. You had to get all the surgeries to get legal gender recognition. So I don't know if that's what he's referring to. I've tried looking at a few of the older policies as well. I think in America it's 17 states still
I
do that, where you
assume.
need to get the top and bottom surgery to get gender recognition, which incidentally does sterilize you. I think in Sweden it's really hard to tell because the way that a lot of the articles on it are written, some of them for Sweden from the 70s says that it was the case that you had to get sterilized before any surgery. So like you had to get sterilized just even if you want top surgery, but then other articles just said it was a gender recognition thing. Like, and I think sometimes what happens is when you get bottom surgery, they would have a box that says you have to consent to being sterilized because the procedure of bottom surgery will sterilize you. Like,
Okay.
so I don't know if he's confused transition with like transition treatments with gender recognition, but
He did not. You're being bad faith here. That's what I will say. He's completely removed from what President Sunday is saying, which is part of the process of record changes instead of the process of transition. Yeah. Also, legally transition. Legal transition is also transition. It's important to transition legally, of course. Like, having your documents match your preferred gender is part of your transition journey. Like, of course. What do you mean?
Incidentally,
What?
it's a mistake that he makes more than once.
It's not a mistake. Legal transition is part of your transition. Right, Tyler. Like, you have no idea what you're talking about.
The case in many places that a condition of even fully transitioning medically requires a trans person,
There
because
you
of
go.
holdovers from the history of eugenics, to sterilize themselves so they can't reproduce their genes into the general population.
So what did he say there?
That a condition of even fully
For a fro person that is like such an intellectual, you sure have problems keeping up.
transitioning medically.
A condition of fully transitioning medically. How can you, is there a way you can fully transition medically, quotation mark, without being rendered infertile? Like if you're a trans woman and you get bottom surgery, they cut your balls off. Like, sorry for being blunt, but if you're a trans man, there are multiple bottom surgery processes. I don't think one of them is like hysterectomy. I don't know if that's necessary though. I don't know if phalloplasties or any if they render you infertile, but like this is usually like this, even in the gender recognition places, this is like informed consent. And I think what the European Union did was that they banned the gender recognition stuff in 2017 because they called it a human rights violation, which it is. Of course, you
But we're not talking about the EU. You were talking about the US.
shouldn't need bottom surgery to get your
Why are you talking about the EU when we're talking about the US transgenocide?
recognition. That's insane. But calling it like eugenics and not letting them reproduce their genes, like what I want to know is, and I couldn't find this anywhere, is if there's any states where they don't let you freeze your sperm and eggs beforehand, sperm or eggs. But he's saying full medical transition. He does it more than once as well. Like,
This has been calculated. D. Imposing measures to prevent births within the group. It is still policy, in very many places, that you must be sterilized as a part of your transition process.
True.
and he said it previously in his research stream.
Yeah, because it's
Trans
correct.
medicine has evolved over the last few decades, has been unreflectively taking on elements of previous eugenic treatment of trans people. So until very recently, in most places, there was a requirement that you have your transition, transition procedures, I guess, done in a specific order that basically required you to sterilize yourself in order to fully transition, which is wrong, obviously.
Again, in order to fully medically transition, which implies bottom surgery.
Exactly, Brina. Not everybody wants to have a bottom surgery, and that's
To fully
okay.
transition. How do you do that without making someone infertile? Like, I know in the past you can refer to things like, I think that Sweden law was, but he's also flipping between whether it's still happening now, especially in the United States, or if it was the case in the past, which again wouldn't be the, like, if you want to make a case for transgender in the past, it's quite easy. Like, when you were trans, like in the
Yeah,
30s
I agree.
and 40s, they just lobotomized you in a lot of parts of America. So that's pretty clear, but like, I have no fucking idea what he's talking about here.
I mean, I'm not surprised.
And he had 5 people doing research for him here as well. And not to take anything away from them, maybe they did good work and all that, but like, I don't know if their information seems to have gone through like the President Sunday filter, and he's just read articles about or read headlines about the
What are you
legal
talking
gender
about?
recognition, and he's rearranged that in his head
What?
to make it into bottom surgery would be genocide or eugenics. Like,
Nobody. Oh my gosh. No. This is bad faith. This is bad. This is an example of bad faith.
Like, I don't know, like, he could have, like, fucking ContraPoints whispering things in his ear and it would still come out as, like, horseshit. I don't, it's, yeah.
This is just bad faith.
I think the way you'd word that is that there are some states where they still very inhumanely demand you to get bottom surgery in order to, like, top and bottom surgery in order to get gender recognition. Like, and that's a big problem. But again, like, because we're on the genocide road, we have to, like, fucking exaggerate. We have to, like, change everything, you know?
What do you mean change everything? What are you talking about?
I'm gonna get a bit more water, okay? And then we're gonna...
Well, it's inhuman, but you have to change everything.
All
Oh
right,
my
guys.
god.
Take another 30-second break. Or 1 minute, whatever.
I guess we'll make him smaller then as he goes away. Till he returns. My gosh. This is so ridiculous, right? Ridiculous. Like, he was talking about bad faith oozing from all of his body, and yet Loner Box is so bad faith in here. Like, this is so bad faith to go with the conclusion that, according to President Sunday, apparently bottom surgery is genocide. Yeah, I think so. I think he's a transmedicalist. That's basically also a staple of being in the Steven universe, being a transmedicalist. I'm not even sure if Loner Box accepts non-binary people. I don't think any of the Steven universe sphere accepts the identity of non-binary people. Oh, he's back.
Okay. Hey, guys.
Yeah. Hello, guys.
All right. We got a couple more bits. We're almost done.
We are almost done?
Still enjoying ourselves so far?
No.
We having a good time?
No.
Oh, my water. Oh, no. I
No.
forgot my water.
We are not having a good time. We will have to play a video game to cleanse our palates after this.
Okay.
No true Scotsman.
Dough.
Doe.
This is a slightly more upsetting one, just because...
I see that Doe is receiving a whole chapter in the manifesto. The Doe chapter. I would love to talk to Doe. If Doe is online, we should get Doe on stream right now. Is Doe on stream? Is Doe online right now? Would anyone like to invite Doe to come here? Is Doe online? Doe is on Do Not Disturb. So I don't know. I am back, no bully! Come on! Are you ready? Are you ready, gigglers? Come on, come on. I am ready. I am ready to... Yeah, let's get the hair in here. Well, maybe not. Maybe it is busy. Okay. Are you ready for me to continue watching this exciting development? Are you all ready? Are you all excited? The manifesto continues. You know? Does that make sense? Nobody in the chat? Come on. Let's get lively, chat. Come on, let's get hyped. Let's get hyped for the content. Let's get excited for what's happening in the universe. Okay, I'm gonna on pause.
Quite like though. I used to anyway.
I used to. Okay, not anymore, it seems.
The day after,
Wait, didn't he say that it's petty to dislike someone because of one thing? Didn't he say that it's like entitled or something? Like, didn't the Loner Box say that it's like disrespectful or like entitled to just flip your positions based on one thing? And now he flipped his position on Doe based on one thing, and that's perfectly fine? Who defended RGR? What happened? Who defended RGR? Huh.
Demon
Interesting.
Mama's review, Doe reached out to me in DMs to ask me about the debate. The conversation was a little heated at times, but I wouldn't say hostile. I offered to talk about it privately over voice chat, but it didn't seem interested. This is just the bit again with the talk. You really want? Probably not. Okay. We went back and forth a little, but it didn't feel like things were going anywhere.
All right.
The reason I tend to ask people for voice calls, even if it's in private, is because text message exchanges, especially for arguments, really mess with my head, especially when they go like this. Sorry, chat, go away.
Changed what? When you bring up the word genocide, you are intrinsically bringing up violence, by the way. Unless you think this is the first genocide in history that we can just vote and protest away. When I bring up the word law, I'm intrinsically bringing up violence. When I bring up the word vote, I'm intrinsically bringing up violence. When I bring up the word president, I'm intrinsically bringing up violence. When I bring up the word oppression, I'm intrinsically bringing up violence.
When you bring up the word
Oh, he will read it.
genocide, you are intrinsically bringing up violence, by the way. Unless you think this is the first genocide in history that we can just vote and protest away.
Mm-hmm.
When I bring up the word law, I'm intrinsically bringing up
Oh yeah, they were out of pocket. Like I saw that though debate with RGR. That was yeah, that's, let's just say I was not impressed, okay? I was not very impressed with that one. I make myself smaller so you can see. Okay.
up violence. When I bring up the word vote, I'm intrinsically bringing up violence. When I bring up the word president, I'm intrinsically bringing up
She
violence.
did.
When I bring up the word oppression, I'm intrinsically bringing up violence. Do you really think that's comparable to genocide? No, you don't. Stop. Stop. Nice spelling, Loner Box. Like, I can't engage. Like, so. I find it really strange that someone like Doe, who is kind of known to be like the big left-wing theory head, would ignore the difference between systemic violence and direct violence. Like, obviously, the violence with genocide is like, that's like Jewish partisan groups destroying Nazi supply lines, killing officers, killing soldiers, so they can allow people to escape. That's not really quite the same violence as like this stuff. But yeah, like I don't really have the energy to go through the back and forth with this.
She did, Pito Jacket, though. Yeah, that's right. And also, it was true, deplorable and disgusting debate. I cannot believe Doe managed to remain so calm. Yeah, that was actually really. Yeah, right? Stop!
After a few days of exchanging messages, long and short, I sent a few paragraphs summarizing my thoughts on the whole situation. Doe did not respond. So this was the last message I sent before the big...
Wow, this message is like a whole mini manifesto within a manifesto. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh.
big falling out. Looks like I was
Falling
right.
out.
I even said immediately after the liberal thing was more of a... This is just talking about a response I made to Demon Mama on stream.
Demon Mama!
Anyway, having watched everything back and some of Demon Mama's response, I have no idea how you could frame this as a scared trans person just sharing her concerns. She's a debater who has no problem going on panels with Christian fascists, and she... Well done, Loner Box.
That's irrelevant. I've already said it last time.
Came into my chat looking to argue. The problem is that even when I agreed with her on everything regarding the policies and what to do about them, she still said I was part of the problem for not calling it a genocide.
Yeah.
Genocide which, according to whatever homespun definition you guys are using, would apparently
Homespun?
include every kind of systemic discrimination in human history. Strange way
What?
to use a word that was literally coined to describe the very worst of all crimes, but meh. I noticed you were doing the same thing by pulling parts out of the UN definition, which I find odd because we both know that isn't how language works. A word's meaning comes from its use and practice as well as its definition, and ignoring that second half is pretty dishonest, especially with a word that is used so sparingly, not just in law, but also in history.
What?
Polly went out of that talk laughing with her chat for over an hour about how I was doing Holocaust revisionism and genocide
Yeah, you have.
denial. I can find you the clip if you want, but did none of you notice that I was actually trying to back up her point by saying what I did about 1941? The idea that the Nazis' original and explicit intent was to remove Jews, ethnic cleansing would be a better term there, and the inevitable conclusion of that was mass killing, the thing 99% of people think when they hear genocide, is hardly controversial, and I can give you plenty of sources if you think there's a problem with it. I was trying
99% of people appeal to belief.
to agree with her that intent can be inferred and intervention can be perfectly justified before genocide occurs, but she was so dunk-brained that she just couldn't see it.
Dunk-brained.
You can see at the end when I said intervention was justified as soon as Dachau opened in 33 and she refused to acknowledge it. I know I'm writing a lot here because I do see you as a generally honest person, but I have Demon Mama, agreeing with a chatter who said I was acting like a Holocaust denier, Polly
Yeah.
refusing to ban or even time out one of her chatters for telling me to kill myself, and a bunch of people in DMs sending me Nazi Germany 101 videos because apparently I didn't know Hitler was in fact very bad. Okay, that one is kind of funny. I don't know what to say. I just think this characterization is insanely unfair, and I feel like I've been gaslit to fuck over the last week. I have to put it to rest for a bit because of deadlines, but yeah, guess I'm just disappointed.
I see.
This thing here,
You are disappointed in everybody.
chat,
Okay.
the banning thing. When I went into Polly's chat after the debate, she was doing the thing, was he right about the Holocaust? I said I could explain that take in like 30 seconds, just send her some sources. And someone in her chat said, I can think of something else you can do.
I'm not sure I trust you with sources after yesterday when you pulled up just in this same stream you pulled up a source that disagreed with you and you asked loudly, why did I put this up in here?
In 30 seconds, Loner Box. I thought, like, she said, Polly insisted to me.
You only accept
30
sources that
seconds was
agree with
actually a,
you.
premature ejaculation joke. But personally, if my community made sexually degrading jokes to someone like to Polly, I'd probably say, don't do that, but it's okay. I'm not really that offended. I just thought it was like a bit wild. I wouldn't hear from Doe again until after I pulled out of my talk with President Sunday. When the day had passed, it started messaging me again, and within 15 minutes of talking, I decided to block it. A week later, Doe put out a 13-tweet post about me on Twitter. This thread is probably one of the most dishonest characterizations I've ever received in my life.
In your life, I
Let's look at
see. In your
So keep-
whole life. Wow.
Some of this in mind and we'll go through problems. I came to Loner Box privately more than once, frustrated after watching him publicly try to bait a trans woman into talking about her oppression into a TOS violation, asking which Republicans you want to kill because she felt genocidal was accurate to describe Republican policy.
True. True.
Pay attention to the things that are put in quotation marks here. He claimed that I and others were just trying to force him to accept the word genocidal, that we were a small group of radicals who had invented a new definition, separate from the UN definition academics use, just to claim that we're experiencing the worst possible oppression.
True.
I explained that I didn't care whether or not he had a particular line for when he thought the descriptive rhetoric of genocidal should come into play, that what bothered most people was the way he treated Polly, and the way it encourages other people to treat us. So,
True.
again, the way I treated Polly, that complaint never came from Polly. It was settled. I want that to stay in. Yeah. We didn't come to any sort of resolution at that time. Later, I heard from President Sunday that Loner Box had reached out to him for a conversation about the discourse generated about the Polly people conversation. President Sunday wanted to do it right and come well researched. This had made me hopeful, and I, along with others, were happy to dedicate time to research that was going to be used to help two political commentators I respect develop their opinions and elevate the discourse in general.
All right.
I was also hopeful that President Sunday could get Loner Box to acknowledge what had bothered people about the
What
way
is so unfair about this?
he had handled things since that conversation with Polly. Again, this isn't on Sunday's list of topics. After many people had dedicated hours of research and President Sunday was about to start his final research stream before the scheduled conversation between him and Loner Box decided that the topic was, quote, too boring, and he didn't want to have it anymore. President Sunday
I mean, that is what you said, quite literally. That you're not interested anymore and that you've got million things better to do. That's right, Silent Sledge. Polly is still on the outs with President Sunday.
at his research stream anyways. We weren't done with the topic that we had dedicated hours to researching, one in which many of those involved in the research's rights and freedoms were at stake. He also left the door open for Loner Box on their scheduled date. After hoping that Loner Box would show up despite cancelling on President Sunday, I reached out back to him, frustrated again, watching other people mimic his behavior towards other trans people speaking about their oppression.
True.
While we're going through the rest of this, I want you guys to imagine in your head what reaching out back to me, frustrated again, would have looked like. Just guess what that would have looked like, right?
I bet he's gonna show it and it's gonna be dishonest framing.
His response was to block me, saying, with friends like these, after he claimed I wasn't listening. I respected Loner Box, which is why I was appalled at his behavior and thought that coming to him privately would help him see that I wasn't out to harm him, that I respected him and wanted him to do better. And it's why I thought that coming with arms full of research would show that we were coming to share in learning and knowledge together. Unfortunately, that seems not to be the case, considering his behavior towards those that dedicated time to honestly exploring a topic that is very close to their lives. All we wanted was him to approach the topic honestly since he reached out for the conversation.
True?
Okay.
I mean, true. That's more than fair enough, right?
Go through some points in that. Doe claims I publicly tried to bait a trans woman into a TOS violation, asking which Republicans you want to kill. I have no idea why this question is in quotation marks because I never asked it. If what I was doing was so clearly TOS baiting, if you were so sure of my intentions and of the fact that I would have broken my entire pattern of behavior on this platform just to get a small trans streamer banned from Twitch, why would you not at least use a direct quote? I don't know if it rejects my claim that people are trying to force the word genocide upon people, but I think at the very least it's fair to say there is some pressure. Well, you've seen the poly conversations, and Republicans have spent the last 2 days excusing and even congratulating a mass murderer because his victims were queer. If you claim to be a leftist and still think calling this a genocide is too strong a word, I have news for you. You are not a leftist, nor are you a trans ally. Yep. It's time we collectively put our foot down. The Conservatives have drawn the battle lines. You're either willing to acknowledge the truth, or you're giving space for Conservatives to fuel a genocide.
True. Interesting enough. See, he has included a material about the shooting in his manifesto. There we go. Loner Box literally made me distrust most streamers because, let's be honest, it's about money for the majority of them, not about politics. It's really, really frustrating to see this spiral, yeah.
I find it strange that Doe claimed not to care about my opinions on the word genocide if it then agreed to do research for Sunday on that particular topic. If Doe was more bothered by the way I treated Polly and was hopeful that Sunday could get me to acknowledge what had bothered people about the way I handled things, why was this not specified on Sunday's list of topics? If we were going to talk about the debate, it surely would have made sense to tell me that I could at least watch it to grab timestamps. Watch it again, sorry.
What the hell?
In Doe's thread, it says I cancelled the conversation with Sunday because it was too boring. Again, I don't know why boring is in quotation marks because I never said this. To
You said it! You said you're not interested anymore.
be clear, no one asked me to specify why I cancelled the talk. Sunday absolutely didn't, and as we're about to find out, neither did Doe.
What do you mean? You wrote your message literally said, I'm not interested anymore. I've got 1 million better things to do. What do you mean? You never said it. Bad faith again. I'm sorry. This is bad faith once again. You went on PS stream the day after the shooting when Polly burned the PS bridge. Yeah. Don't do TOS, okay? I might have to remove this. Not to be... not to be mean, but you know, you never know. Trans creator can never be too careful, okay? Sorry to like remove the message, but you know. A trans creator can never be too.
After I decided not to show up to the debate, Doe says it reached out to me frustrated again, watching other people mimic my behavior towards other trans people speaking about their oppression. My response was to block it, saying, with friends like these, after I claimed it wasn't listening. At the very least, the words in quotation marks are correct here. However, the reason I chose to block Doe could use some clarification. So, Doe comes into my DMs about a week after this. We've already read this. Doesn't engage with any of this. Posts a tweet from Sonsol. If you actually think this is my position, you're fucking insane. You're listing off shit that hasn't happened yet or has been directly struck down in court as evidence of a genocide now. You're acting like your name is engraved at the Holocaust Museum already.
The what?
is the-
The what? Oh my gosh, Sonsol.
Direct consequence of your behavior.
I mean, yeah.
Same tweet again. If you're speedrunning using every rhetorical strategy to make people stop listening to trans individuals talk about actual harm being done to them, to call you dangerous to trans people is an understatement, and it's certainly not a lie. Good job promoting discarding and laughing at trans people who are worried about their oppression. You're an excellent advocate. You've done an
True. Well said, Doe.
incredible job of encouraging the people around you to disregard and disrespect trans people and paternalistically mock them and tell them they're bad for their own movement.
True.
Question mark. I had a second convo with Polly and it seemed pretty chill. I think what you did best, though, was convince people that utilizing state policies to eliminate people isn't a genocide, when politicians just do it because they're worried about kids.
True.
You just did an amazing job setting up the obvious dichotomy between the violent, crazy trans people who are using words like genocide to encourage their audience to commit violent actions and the good-natured, good-hearted conservatives who care about kids.
True.
The effects of your work is clear and the company you keep shines through you.
True.
The reason I didn't continue the discussion before was because you were going to talk to President Sunday, and I thought he could do a better job of getting you to stop being a dumb fucking idiot than I could.
True.
You pussied out of that too. Can you address the fact that I spoke to Polly for a second time and I said,
True. The spitting facts. I wish it could come on stream. But you know, maybe in the future we will be able to talk.
I didn't think this was the issue worth fighting
Yeah.
over? Why do I need to carry on this conversation? I said I was done with it, and now you're blaming me for someone else's tweets. So, excellent job. You've encouraged more people to downplay and disregard the rhetoric of trans people, all while lying about the origins of the word genocide, lying or being just fucking wrong about the policies being advocated and passed by conservatives.
True.
Why do you think Sonsel's my company? He's fought with Polly before I even met her. This discourse has been had before I brought it up. That these two were sent at the same time. That's why it looked a bit disjointed. Okay, you're not listening. Friends like these, huh? Bye. Now, if anyone, again, I'm not the most socially aware person. If anyone thinks there was a better way I could have handled this, like,
Yes.
respond point by
Yeah, there were a lot of better ways to. Yeah, of course.
point, step back, acknowledge my faults,
What do you mean there were. What?
just leave the messages and let Doe fucking fire off into the void.
Yeah,
There's nothing to
exactly.
engage with
sir.
here.
What do you mean there's nothing to engage in here?
Bear in mind, the trans people bit, again, this is Sonsel speaking to Polly, the same individual trans person that I spoke to. So, right. There are so many points in this exchange where I felt like any hope of a good faith engagement was fraught. I won't list them all here, but here are a few as an impression. Doe immediately opened the conversation by describing my position as DGG stupidity, despite my argument being fairly common outside of our space.
I
So,
see.
this is from the initial reaching out. I think when people say this, especially from this community, I think you're at that point, like the well is just poisoned enough to the point that there's not really much hope of going back. I find it really weird though that words like Nazi or genocide don't have meanings anymore is a DGG idea, because it's not hard to find that. Like, this is the BBC article on what is a genocide, and they even say there's like a guy, I think he's like a human rights expert, MSF Secretary General.
Oh, great. Arguing about legality. Great.
Voiced concern that the term genocide has fallen victim to a sort of verbal inflation, in much the same way as happened with the word fascist. DGG are confirmed. The Wikipedia article on trans genocide. Where is it? Did it move? Oh yeah. It was criticized by hate crime expert in the article here of the Canadian Jewish Congress as being insensitive to victims of recognized genocides known as the Holocaust. This article suggests that the origin.
That's really great. When Bernie Farber. I will look.
Of the term transgenocide, it might
Bernie Farber. Let's look it up. I see. He was born in 1951. he says that it's insensitive to the victims when the actual victims say that the treatment of the minorities will lead to a new Auschwitz.
May have been a mistranslation. It came not because of policies in the US, but because of the murder rates in Latin
Yeah.
America.
Though is actually a pretty patient person.
And it might have been just mistranslated because I think the there's a somewhere here when they talk about like I think it's like transcide that they use, or like again democide, or the same way feminists will use femicide to talk about high murder rates of women. But yeah, DGG again, Canadian Jewish Congress. There's actually a really good radio podcast where he talks about that topic in particular.
Okay.
I think he actually makes the argument that if you were talking about states that are guilty of genocide, a better example would be somewhere like Uganda or Middle Eastern countries where it's like a crime to be LGBTQ. And if you are caught being one of those things, they just kill you, just death penalty. And he makes the case that those should be called for genocide. It described my conflict with Polly as me promoting, discarding, and laughing at trans people who are worried about their oppression. Given that this is in reference to an engagement I had with a single trans person, incidentally, the same trans person Sonsol was arguing with, this invocation of trans people is clearly disingenuous in a way that you'd expect this corner of the internet to be very aware of.
No.
I will actually use I don't normally use this term because it's got like slightly toxic implications, but this whole thing about you're disagreeing with XYZ trans person, like, it's woke scolding. Yeah, that's exactly what it is.
What?
The reason I'm using that term now is I'll reveal right at the end, okay?
Okay, reveal it. Like, poor Loner Box is being woke scolded. I'm woke scolding you. I'm woke and I'm scolding you. You bastard.
I wouldn't normally use the word woke scold because it's, you know, right wing. But,
What?
I've
It's not.
never described conservative legislators as good-natured or good.
Wait, the word woke scold is right wing? What? Since when? Since when is the word woke scold right wing? Though also seems to try to understand the point that others present in this is something that few other creators in the Paul space ever tried to do. Weird that those places have large population of religious conservatives like American Christians are trying to build a similar true.
Hearted. If you can't see any middle ground between good-natured and genocidal, that is most likely your problem, not mine.
I see.
It accused me of lying about the origins of the word genocide, despite me frequently bringing up examples that imply
Middle
Lemkin's
ground.
definition in
It's
both.
always middle ground.
5. It accused me of lying about the policies being advocated and passed by conservatives. As far as I can find, I think there's only one example
far
of me
as I
getting
can
something
find.
wrong, as I was referring back to an article from 2021. Although I even qualified this by saying it's as far as I know, unless there's something more recent.
I mean, you should do research before opening your mouth, right? I think woke scold came from the right, but I'm not sure. It is an effective term nonetheless. Some suggest fall progressive as an alternative.
Guys, I think this is the thing they've accused me of lying for. I don't know. Can't think of anything. And often I think when I have these discussions with people is I ask a few people whether or not, like, oh, how many states do you think have banned trans healthcare for kids or have tried to? And they'll say, oh, I don't know, like 30. And there's like 2, and one of them failed. And often I think when I have these discussions, so that's the first thing. The thing I'm referring to here, the 2 states banned treatment for
Sheesh.
kids.
Like, even with RGR, though try to understand the scenarios that RGR is presenting and the implications of them, no matter how outlandish or unrealistic and really prudish they were. Right, yeah. Though, like, he's a really, really patient person and also has a really nice voice. You know? Really nice. Yeah, they tried it in all 50 states. Though gave RGR good faith well beyond what she deserved, and that was thrown in its face. Yeah. That's true. That was a really bad debate.
One failed. It was in 2021. This is the article from The Guardian about it. Again, these are all the states that failed, and these are the two that passed. So my knowledge at the time was that Tennessee passed a ban, but the ban was only on hormone treatment for prepubescent minors, which is weird because no one recommends you give hormones to people before puberty. I'm pretty sure even blockers, I might be wrong, but I think even blockers, you have to start your initial stage of puberty before you go on blockers. I think that's the case, but
Okay.
this law currently didn't actually affect anyone's treatment. You can still criticize it because it's like basically just like a hateful statement, and it's most likely them preparing to extend the ban next year. Arkansas got through a full ban on gender affirming care for kids for under 18s, and it was blocked by a federal judge. So that's what I'm referring to at the time. Like, I think since then, Alabama got through a full ban for under 18s as
There
well.
we go.
But that was also blocked by a federal judge.
And they will keep trying. Keep mind you, they will keep
Arizona
trying.
Arizona is the only one that can actually enforce their ban.
It's
the ban
not
that Arizona
like
pushed was the fuck was it?
it's not like they're gonna go. Oh, we failed. We might as well pack up and go home. They will be trying again and again.
It was surgery for under 18s.
Exactly,
That's the one that
Tyler.
they've enforced.
Exactly.
Again, I disagree with all
Also,
of this. I
failed
think all
genocide
of
is
the
still a
treatment should be
genocide
available to under
attempt.
18s.
Yeah.
The other ones, Florida did one as well, but their one was I don't think their one has gone into law yet. It was the one that was approved by the medical board, and that was after the debate though. That was November that happened. So, all right. I even qualified this by saying it's as far as I know, unless there's something more recent.
I mean, there's many laws that are I don't have the website up, but like there's many laws that exist right now that have been passed in many states.
Specifically about banning, about restricting healthcare for kids, right? 2 states succeeded, I think, and one of them got overturned this year. As far as I know, unless there's something more recent. Yeah.
I'd have.
So if that's me lying, sorry. Contrast this with Demon Mama attempting to refute me by saying 2 states banned all gender-affirming care, not just for minors. Specifically about banning, about restricting healthcare for kids, right? 2 states succeeded, I think, and one of them got overturned this year.
No. 2 states succeeded at passing a full ban, and both of them were overturned on the federal level, thank goodness. 2 states succeeded at banning all, not just for minors.
I couldn't find anywhere where this was coming from. The only thing I could find was a state that had, in Missouri, there's an article that said legislators were considering changing the age from 18 to 25, the minimum age. But the heavy lifting there is coming from the word consider. Like legislators consider all kinds of shit. So I don't know if any state that's tried to
Heavy
ban
lifting.
trans healthcare for everyone, not just for
But you
minors.
don't know. You couldn't
I have
find it
no idea what she's talking about there.
because
Here, I mean, she elaborates on which states, because you can see as it goes on. Someone in her chat asks which other one was an all besides Alabama.
Because it can be debilitating when you sort
Arkansas.
of look.
Yeah, Arkansas and Alabama banned for youths and got overturned. I don't know why she thought those 2 states banned all healthcare, not just for minors. Like, we'll go over it again, like she says.
Overturned on the federal level, thank goodness. 2 states succeeded at banning all, not just for minors.
So
yeah,
it doesn't go on to say. I'm not sure about that. I could be wrong.
it means it passed but got overturned. So they succeeded but got overturned, right? Is this what's going on? I don't see how he can possibly be making this argument in good faith. After seeing what has happened with abortion, it seems like a very similar pattern. Yeah, exactly. I know I shouldn't find any of this funny, but at some point it becomes hopelessly absurd, like trying to convince people it's raining outside when it's pouring down, but they refuse to believe you. Yeah, because they are dry at home.
Just to maybe combat some of the, I guess, the disinformation
How can you believe it's raining outside when you're dry?
then, sure. As far as the bans go, I think, yeah, the actual like legal bans have come from Alabama, Arkansas, Tennessee, Arizona. Tennessee's one doesn't actually affect anyone's treatment yet, but
True.
they're going to try to push it further in 23. Alabama, Arkansas blocked. Arizona, they have been allowed to enforce this one, which is not very nice.
By Loner Box's standard, we would not be able to do much prevention, I'll tell you that much.
There are other ones that have done like not bans, but they've tried to limit. So in Florida, they did take it away from Medicaid. That's not a ban, but that's still shit. Texas directive did make doctors more reluctant when before the federal block came in. Oklahoma governor tried in a very like sneaky, indirect way because he withheld COVID relief funds from a state hospital system,
Sneaky.
unless it stopped.
Sneaky
providing
bastardo!
So, again, I don't know if that's going to be. This is quite recent, so I don't know if that's going to be challenged at a federal level. But yeah, there you go. Again, just like if you want my moral take, every single one of
Moral
these policies is
take.
dog shit. They're disgusting. Like they should not be passed. But okay.
I see. The new moral take dog shit. What kind of a moral take is calling something dog shit? It refers that there's a way to not make it dog shit, to make it better, that it's not good enough. Like... ridiculous. My moral take is that it's dog shit. I love it.
As far as I remember, I have never called any of the
Well,
trans
you
people I've
wouldn't prove
interacted
it.
with on this issue
For
crazy.
making not dog
But
shit.
between Demon Mama smacking her fist, talking about how she wants more rip and tear, and Doe saying things like this, I hardly find it fair that I should be blamed when other people describe them as violent. Doe did this tweet, which I thought was a bit... Inventing a new guy. Guy who thinks that using the word genocide to describe your oppressors, genocidal, is a call to violence, but that using the phrase implementing policies designed to make life unlivable for a particular group in the hopes of elimination or erasure isn't one.
True.
Damn, found out this dude already exists, rip. Don't worry, they're only implementing policies designed to make your life unlivable. If it was a genocide, I would support you murdering those people, but since they are only making your life unlivable, it's really important that you write your local congressman. Again, like, being so dismissive of people who actually take their free time and do the work and establish like connections and with these like legislators to try and stop these laws from like canvassing or testifying and just and it's all shitting on all of it. So
No, it's not. No, it's not.
I can explain this very easily. Again, direct violence versus systemic. I can explain why violence against the genocidal actions of Germany in Eastern Europe made sense because Jewish militia groups actually did quite a good job at destroying Nazi infrastructure, disrupting supply lines, killing perpetrators, allowing people to escape. I can say why that makes sense. That makes perfect sense. Same with the Rohingya Muslims, the
Jewish militia groups?
rebel groups. It's the only way they can defend their communities. As for implementing policies like systemic violence, well, I can't explain how killing the legislators will help. I can't explain how physical violence stops this problem. Okay, that's why I think they're different. If you want to challenge that, please just let me know. Okay, that I'm always, you know, I'm not like against political violence, believe it or not. This was a DM. I don't actually know if I want to share this one. Fuck.
Then why did you
I was gonna
include
put
it?
out all the DMs from the very beginning of the conversation with Doe, but Doe has since deleted its Twitter account or privated it. So
Then why did you
That's
include
okay.
this? What?
I will say though, Doe, if you see this, if you think I've misrepresented anything, you are more than welcome to leak everything. Go ahead. You can even leak the bit where I made fun of Destiny in like 2021 or some shit in your DMs because I know that message was there as well. Go for it.
Doe and Demon Mama both have a growing resource list of the LGBT refugee guides and other resources like shelters built for LGBT. Loner Box is ignorant of the legwork their community puts in. Exactly. You know? And I think we can expand on that.
Whew. 2 more pages, guys, or 2 more bits. Honorable mention. Gayfesh.
Gay Fesh. The chatter. Why do people dislike the Gay Fesh so much? What's wrong with Gay Fesh? Wait, are we at the end of the... We might be able to play some game. What's wrong with Gay Fesh?
Gayfesh is perhaps one of the saddest, most radioactively online losers in the entire online left.
Jesus.
After President Sunday, self-appointed ambassador of the trans community, decided I was going to throw my
Sheesh.
trans viewers under the bus at the drop of a hat, Dylan Burns asked him if that might be a bit of a reach. Gayfesh decided that this was yet another instance of Dylan being a total piece of shit, not an ally, and someone who was not going to stand up for queer folk. This is Sunday
Sheesh.
saying I'm going to
Calm
drop
down. Calm down. Why are you attacking a chatter? Sheesh. I think Dylan Burns can defend himself.
trans viewers under the bus. Dylan, don't you think this is a bit of a reach? So Dylan being a total piece of shit and not an ally is not just a several times fluke. Go back to your war tourism if you're not going to stand up for queer folk. Gayfesh is online like all the time. All right.
So? Like, what's wrong with being online? This is so lame to... This is so weak. Like, this is so weak to try to insult people by saying, oh, this person is always online. But this is like... I guess those are the... This is the holy trinity of the Steven universe, using the r-slur, calling people autistic, and then calling people always online. This manifesto term is doing too much legwork. It should be called airing of grievances. True. Like, I don't know. It's the holy trinity of the Steven universe. The r-slur, like calling people autistic, and then saying that people are always online.
When your litmus test for whether or not someone is adequately supporting LGBTQ rights rests solely
Why do people like attack individual like chatters? Isn't like Gayfesh like a chatter in the Demon Mama's stream? Like,
on how loyal
What's-
they are to your specific niche online community, it might be time to reflect on what
sheesh,
exactly it is you want to achieve from this space.
Hamas,
This is not the behavior of someone who wants allies. It's the
Hamas,
behavior of someone who wants to exist in a cult.
cult.
The people on your side are not going to agree with you on everything. This doesn't mean they care less than you do, nor does it mean they are against you.
Hamas.
We are going to disagree sometimes, but for the most part, we are still on the same side. As someone who came out of Vosh's community and still feels quite welcome there, I have been relieved to find out that this level of purity testing has been limited to a small, albeit loud minority. I'm aware a lot of Vosh viewers in my community have disagreed with me on this issue, but for whatever reason, have decided to defend me anyway. Shout out to the VGG boys and girls and NBs for supporting me. Thank you very
Sheesh.
much. This was a thread about, do you have opinions you're not comfortable with expressing in this community? And this person wrote a whole big thing about the genocide thing. I thought this was quite a good thread, but we'll just leave it.
So why did you bring it up?
Why is Gayfesh a member of this community with take? Like the take here was the tweet to Dylan, and yeah, they're they're not being okay.
Of course, the Ursula.
Cool.
Of course, I do not agree that what Dylan Burns did is war tourism, okay? I will say I do not agree with that. Stephen Hassan? Who? Oh my gosh. Yeah, Hamas. RGR attacked the chariot? When did that happen? When did RGR attack chariot? When did I missed that. When did RGR attack chariot? That's pretty interesting. Okay then.
Though I'm not too worried about this particular community's ability Though I'm not too worried about this particular community's immediate ability to harm me, they don't really have the reach for that. I do think the accusations they've made against me are a bit less trivial than they seem. The accusation that I tried to TOS bait a trans woman can quickly morph into the claim that I tried to get a small trans streamer banned from Twitch. The fact that I didn't go easy on a fellow debate streamer in an argument she agreed to have has already transposed into the claim that I cruelly mocked a scared trans woman who just wanted to talk about her oppression.
I mean, you have a
That
bit.
claim has already evolved into an image of me dismissing trans people as a whole. Of course, despite
you
the
are a
massive
bit.
loss in projection, I am not the one with an extensive history of attacking people's platforms and livelihoods, nor do I have a tendency to celebrate deplatforming when it does happen. If someone like Gayfesh can convince himself that I tried to take away an innocent person's platform, wouldn't he be justified in doing exactly the same to me? After all,
What?
it's no secret that they've gone after people for less. We ready, guys? Deep breaths.
Okay, deep breaths.
Epilogue.
Oh my god.
Riley Grace Rochelle.
What does Riley Grace Rochong have to do with any of this? Oh my gosh. Really? We're going back to RGR again? Oh my gosh. I actually have like a history with RGR. Maybe I will talk about it on the 11th if I will be allowed to come on.
This story.
He's literally cherry picking, and Dylan has proven that he's pretty blind when it comes to critical support of LGBT. Like, you don't need to agree, but he gave RGR a blanket pass, right? Although I think the work that he did in Ukraine is really, really good.
Is wild. Riley Grace Rochong, otherwise known as RGR, is a former Twitch streamer and YouTuber who is known in this space partially for her very unsavory interactions with Doe and Demon Mama.
Right.
Having stepped away from YouTube for almost a year now, Riley is currently in the final stages of her law degree and also working, unpaid, as a board member for Free State Justice, FSJ, a non-profit organization that provides legal services, legal advocacy, education and outreach for LGBTQ people and their families in the state of Maryland. In September this year, Doe, Demon Mama, and Gayfesh shared a statement from the former executive director of FSJ accusing the board, Riley included, of corruption and the upholding of white supremacist culture.
Okay.
We'll go into all these tweets throughout. This is Doe who broke the story on Twitter.
I have no idea what this has to do with the trans genocide. It has nothing to do with the trans genocide, of course. Like, what's happening here? This is out of nowhere.
think in fairness to Doe, Doe didn't go quite as far as Demon Mama and Gayfesh here. Doe just shared the story. Maybe that's not inherently a bad thing, but okay. Demon Mama, both Doe and I have now been repeatedly vindicated of the obscene lies, and then this shares the post. Whoa. Let's go back, chat.
Okay.
Gayfesh. The director of the advocacy group RGR is on the board of just resigned and accused her of power grabbing and furthering white supremacist culture. Here's his letter. Okay.
Okay.
The person in question, Jeremy Lemaster, published a statement where he claimed to have called for the immediate resignations of every member of the board and accused them of failing in their fiduciary responsibilities,
Okay.
engaging in partisan lobbying and trying to consolidate power.
All right.
Upon reading Lemaster's statement the day after it was published, I was a little skeptical of his claims, especially in contrast to Demon Mama and Gayfesh, who seemed entirely uncritical. They neglected to say, for example, that two former board members had challenged Lemaster's claims and that his apparent resignation had come 4 days after being told he would be fired. So, this is the article where
Okay.
they challenge the claims. It's mostly his statement here, and then
Why would they not challenge the claim? That just because them challenging the claim is the obvious course of action. Like, what do you mean? Like, unless they all nod and agree, it's suspicious? Like, of course they would challenge the claim. What do you mean? I'm surprised every one of them did not challenge the claim. What?
it goes into the bottom to say that the board members challenged it. So this is Charlotte and 100% false. Yeah. I will give you that article just in case. A quick Google search. Oh, shit. I
Yeah.
also noticed that the evidence Lemaster gave of white supremacist culture was incredibly vague. I mean, this is from his statement. These are the hallmarks of white supremacist
Wouldn't that align with the core of the org? Right.
culture: the concentration of power, power hoarding, defensiveness, right to comfort, fear of open conflict, hyper individualism, and a false sense of urgency. I mean, okay.
Okay.
A quick Google search of the terms he invoked led me to this website where he seems to have lifted them from. And this website just has all of them listed, like right to comfort, power hoarding, fear of conflict.
Okay.
This website's really weird, though. It's like something you'd expect from like Robin DiAngelo or something. It's just so odd. As I understand it, this dispute hasn't been settled, and as an outsider, I can only be 100% confident in describing this as one story against another. That said,
Okay.
the events that transpired since Lemaster's initial statement have given me more than enough reason to
Why are you including this? Why are you including this in the manifesto about transgenocide? Why?
doubt his claims. Here they are in chronological order. On September 20th, LGBTQ Nation published an article which mostly featured quotes from Lemaster's resignation.
What does this have to do with anything? What's going on here? This is ridiculous.
This is the article I've linked in chat.
Okay.
However, the article also gave counterclaims from two former directors, one claiming that Lemaster had single-handedly destroyed the organization on their own, and the other stating that numerous employees hired over the past 2 years have expressed concerns regarding his management. One of these former board members did say that there was problems with the board as well, but they also said Lemaster's claims were like shit. Yeah. This article came out on the same day.
Yeah, but notice how he never said what Riley actually did. But Riley Grace Rochon has nothing to do with this conversation. Why does this whole epilogue even exist? Like, why is this epilogue even here? What is this supposed to demonstrate when it comes to the genocide discussion?
Day as Doe's initial tweet, but the dissenting
why?
opinions from former board members were not acknowledged. So again, Doe's tweet is just the resignation letter from
Okay.
Lemaster. Wait, where's the statement? Sorry, I forgot to read the statement. Let's just read his statement. Okay. This is the one that he published and Doe shared, and Demon Mama and Gayfesh did as well.
Didn't you call President Sunday the ambassador for trans people before mockingly? Are you the ambassador of RGR? What's happening here? Are you her lawyer?
Whistleblowing. Public call for the resignation of the Free State Board of Directors. This morning, I requested the Free State Justice Board of Directors to submit their immediate resignations due to persistent violations of our board handbook, consistent failures in their fiduciary responsibilities, and using
If you claim this is just one story against a different story, then why are you even covering this?
positions of power to engage in partisan lobbying within Free State Justice, and their repeated refusal to add new members and leadership to the board.
Okay.
They declined. It's with a heavy heart that I announced my resignation.
It's just more well poisoning. He's just making sure that no one can sympathize with Demon Mama or Doe, and gives his audience vibes-based arguments against them. Yeah, that seems to be the case.
And make a public call for their resignation instead. He just lists all the board members here. And he puts their email. Please know that I exhausted every avenue over the last 2 years to get our board fully staffed and running. And I made
Like, I'm gonna be honest, I'm not really that interested in this epilogue coming from, like, Loner Box here. Like, it's not like he's gonna share some insight that none of us already know.
good faith efforts to work with the board to ensure that our clients and low-income LGBTQ Marylanders remained at our center. Instead, the board has refused to accept any new board members since 2021 and refused to staff and run core board activities as per our handbook. Instead, they have worked to consolidate power and amend the board handbook in secret to lower the minimum number of board members required and ensure that our policy positions prioritize relationships with legislators, not the best interests of our client and community. I have provided clear warnings and consistent concerns over these issues that were repeatedly ignored. These are the hallmarks of white supremacist culture: the concentration of power, power hoarding, defensiveness, right to comfort, fear of open conflict, hyper-individualism, false sense of urgency. I encourage our community and our supporters to meaningfully consider how racism can be incorporated into leadership, and this document provides a great template for what this looks like.
All right.
So this is the statement from Lemaster, okay? This is what we went on.
Right?
This is the article. Okay, we're back to where we were. This is where things get a little bit spicy.
Spicy, okay.
On September 21st, the board members of FSJ filed a legal complaint against Lemaster and issued a temporary restraining order against them. In the complaint, they accuse him of locking other employees out of their accounts, thereby giving himself exclusive access to organization's IT infrastructure, as well as employee lists, donor lists, volunteer lists, etc. Uploading a defamatory post, the one shared by Doe, Demon Mama, etc., to the FSJ website and to 43,000 recipients on the organization's mailing list, causing financial injury to the organization and impairing their ability to work for their clients.
Okay.
Breach of duty by breaking signed company agreements, breaking laws around computer abuse, and misuse of trade secrets.
Okay.
This is going to court. They are taking him, as far as I know, right now, this is still ongoing, and they're taking him to court.
Yeah, it's a legal organization. Why wouldn't they do it? Like, this means nothing. This means literally nothing.
Over this. This is their legal complaint. It's pretty long. They accuse him of more crimes than you can count on one hand, and yeah. There's their list of exhibits here, all that.
Okay.
Yeah. I will share that as well.
Why? What? So?
On the 21st and 22nd, I called this out in 2 Twitter threads, one which is a retweet of Gayfesh, but no one commented.
Because...
This is what I said at the time as well.
Okay,
So I
what did you
did speak
say?
about this when it happened.
This is so ridiculous.
Joked about the evidence of white supremacist culture. You can read the whole story here. As far as we know, this is one word against another. There's already a statement rebuking the original.
Okay.
I'm not saying anyone needs to like RGR, but you're not exactly hiding the fact that you really want to believe this ahead of time just because it's a quick dunk. This is Gayfesh saying, it's entirely possible he's just butt mad about his incompetence, but I've seen what a toxic board can do to an organization. Have you? And make it look like it was the director's fault before.
I mean...
I promise you can easily dislike someone without acting as if every fiber of their being is fundamentally rotten.
Okay.
People are already using this as proof against the idea that she does good IRL work. It's an accusation that's currently being challenged. Chill. Second one,
All right.
after I learned about the trial, the court case. Turns out the guy who made these claims has been issued a temporary restraining order. Apparently, he'd hijacked the group's accounts and changed passwords after being let go earlier this month. They've accused Lemaster of locking the staff out of their accounts and making unauthorized defamatory posts to the organization's website when no one else could access it. This will have given him access to donor information and information that was subject to client-attorney confidentiality. He's been accused of causing damages and losses to the organization in several ways. If this is true, it means quite a few people were willing to spread damaging and incredibly weak allegations against an LGBTQ advocacy group just because they wanted to get a dunk online. I should say, I don't think this means Doe or Demon Mama are bad people. I've only had good relations with both of them and don't plan on changing that. But this just really looks really reckless and irresponsible, especially now that legal action is involved. That's what I said at the time. I don't know.
This is a legal organization. Legal action was always gonna be involved. What do you mean?
If they saw it and just didn't say anything.
Like, this is ridiculous, especially now that legal action is involved. Well, what did you expect? Did you expect that legal action would not be involved within a legal organization?
But they didn't say anything. Right.
Like,
Despite
were
this-
you ever involved with a legal organization?
Information now being publicly available, Demon Mama and Gayfesh continued to accept Lemaster's
It would be ridiculous if legal action was not taken.
side of the story at face value. 2 weeks after tweeting that this was 2 days, sorry, shit. 2 days after
2
tweeting
years.
that this was an example of her and Doe being vindicated against Riley, Demon Mama dismissed the counterclaim from FSJ, arguing that Lemaster's statement was perfectly salient and well argued.
Okay.
When asked her thoughts about Lemaster trashing Free State's internal systems, she says, with no hint of irony, post proof or get the fuck out.
I mean, yeah.
So, both Doe and I have now been repeatedly vindicated of the obscene lies Riley Grace Rochon spread about us. Doe even more than I. She stood by her lies, despite the severe harassment they caused, never apologized, now this. This was 2 days. I've screenshotted this just in case.
Alright.
Demon Mama's deleted all her tweets as well, so they're both pretty done with Twitter, it seems. Anyway.
What?
Someone replied 2 days later, vindicated, you say? This was the statement from Free State Justice? I'll just read this.
Okay. Yeah, it
On the
is.
16th of September, Lemaster was relieved of their duties.
It is a pretty typical statement. Like, have you ever been involved with a legal
Lemaster's
organization?
pronouns are he, they, as far as I know. That's what it says in the court document, anyway. Yeah, September 16th, so this is 4 days after Lemaster published his statement that they relieved him of his duties. We attempted to work with Lemaster directly. Instead, he opted to compromise our systems and operations. The management team and board have been focused on restoring full functionality, but will need a little bit more time to complete these efforts. Yeah, just all this. Thank you for your patience. Demon Mama. This is a pretty typical statement you would expect from a board of directors which has been consolidating power and wants to make any dissenters look bad. Lemaster's statement was perfectly salient and well argued. So, yes, vindicated. You have nothing to say about Lemaster trashing their internal systems, which allows them to do their work. Post proof or get the fuck out. What's your proof of anything Lemaster said? At this time, the only correct opinion for someone like us to have about this is that there
Correct opinion. I love the term correct opinion.
are two opposing claims,
All
and
right.
it's going to court.
Okay. So why are we talking about this then? If there are two opposing claims and they are going to court, then why does this epilogue exist? You don't agree with Demon Mama on this. Demon Mama feels vindicated. It's going to court. What else is there to say?
That's it. Like, now I personally, having learned from January 6th, tend to favor people who are willing to take their claims to court. But you never know. Maybe this Lemaster guy will convince a jury of his peers or prove to a judge or prove in a court of law that Riley Grace is actually a white supremacist. But
So,
I don't know.
what?
Gayfesh wrote an unfathomably deranged thread arguing that Riley was actually the primary target for much of Lemaster's criticism,
Okay.
citing her association with Destiny as one example.
Okay.
After reading the resignation statement from the Free State Justice Director and becoming
What does Gayfish has to do with all of this while we're at it? Like, this is like,
increasingly
okay.
convinced, even though he names the entire board, it is very likely that RGR was the primary target of much of his criticism. Thread. Ignoring the actual people they're supposed to be protecting in order to cozy up to legislators is exactly the sort of thing Riley has done in the past. She burned her community to the ground in 2021 for a crumb of Destiny clout and hurt the people she was claiming to defend.
I'm not sure why that last statement was so funny to him. That RGR heard the people she was claiming to defend. Like, I have a whole story to tell about that. I'm not sure why he laughed there. Like, why is that funny?
How many times
What's funny?
has Destiny appeared in this story?
Well, it's not my fault like that you swarm around Steven like flies. Is it my fault? Like, is it my fault that you swarm around Steven like flies? Like,
The only connection Destiny has to this entire story, as far as I know, is that some people think my question to Rose Wrist actually came from him.
that's great, but what is RGR's connection to this whole story then? Can you... Like, is this a joke? Like, you laugh saying that Destiny has nothing to do with this whole story, and then you bring in RGR that has even less to do with all of this. Like... Also, yes, I know, Sarah Vane, I was there.
And that he
I
disagrees that
know
there's a
what happened.
transgenocide in the US right now.
I actually made a retrospective video on the whole RGR situation. I'm still friends with people who were in the old community. That old RGR community had a reputation of being one of the most friendly and nice communities. You know? That's a sad story. Honestly, BK, you like to not know the whole RGR though thing. If you really want to know, I'll explain another time, but it's very CW and cruel. BK? Oh, belly kitten.
I think that's it. I think that's his only connection to this, and he just keeps coming up. It's so funny. All right. This definitely sounds something like something out of our playbook. Refuse to ever acknowledge guilt and claim that you are doing things for the good of the community to use as a bludgeon for your abusive tendencies.
True.
Riley actually fell out with me over a year ago and did actually make up with me for that. So, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. A year ago, I got pulled into the drama in a big way when a now former member of the board of FSJ went on a full-throated defense of Riley because of this tweet. Note the highlighted section. RGR is literally our enemy. I don't want her doing any advocacy online or in real life. If she gains political relevance, she will literally throw us all under the bus to win normie points with the cisheads. If you were my lawyer, by the end of the trial, you'd be found guilty.
That is not unreasonable to say, considering many events that have transpired.
Whoa. Looks like I was right. Motherfucker, why do you think you were... Jeez, it's... Okay. I wish I could have this level of confidence. It's so...
I mean, you do.
All right.
You did it. You
I've
made a
seen
whole
what happens to
manifesto.
organizations like
You
this
do
when
have
the
this
board
level.
works to consolidate their power and burn through directors. FSJ is very likely not long for this world. Like, May, how much experience do Gayfesh and Demon Mama have with with boards of directors of nonprofits?
How much?
Why this? I've seen this song and dance unfold in...
I'm gonna be okay. Let's go. I have quite a lot of experience of board of directors in nonprofits. Actually, you know, I probably have a lot more experience with boards of directors of nonprofits than you, Loner Box. I've been involved with quite a few non-profit organizations, pretty significant ones as well. So, I don't know. I have been involved. Have you been involved with board of directors, Loner Box?
many non-profit organization for LGBTQ people. Like, what the... They both said this, like you this guy hasn't left his house since like 2008. I don't know why he's pretending to know what is typical of a non-profit.
Oh. Trying to insult someone, saying that they are always at home. Okay. Oh, I'm not sure about that. Demon Mama has her page on the White Leaf.
Organization for LGBTQ people. It's a non-profit. They're not like millionaire board directors and shit. Huh. Who knows how many people could have been helped if Riley hadn't been there. All right.
Also, it doesn't matter if it's like you're very naive, Loner Box. You're very, very naive, and now I will tell you that you have nothing to do, that you did not have much contact with board of directors on non-profit organizations. They may not be quote-unquote millionaires, but I assure you that boards of directors have their ways of making money in non-profit organizations. If you think they don't, then you are very naive and you have not dealt with many non-profit organizations. I'll tell you that. Because I will give you a little bit of a hint. Board of directors pay and the organization's quote-unquote profit are two very separate things. A director's pay and the organization's profit are two different things. If an organization is a non-profit organization, it doesn't mean that the board of directors do not get paid, okay? It means that the organization cannot generate profit. Also, there are types of non-profit organizations that can start a business as long as the money from the business is used to operate the organization itself. In other words, the business cannot generate extra profit. But do you know what it also means? It means that it can generate payment to the board of directors. So you have no idea what you're talking about, and you have not done much with non-profit organizations if you think that it is an argument to say that their organization is non-profit, because it seems that you just don't know what it means. There we go. I made a little bit of a rant about non-profit organizations. Did you enjoy? At least this is how it works in Poland. I don't know. Maybe in Scotland it works differently. I highly doubt it. But I have dealt with non-profit orgs before. And with boards of directors. Yes.
On September 24th,
Consolidation of power is absolutely a thing.
this time with access to FSJ's legal complaint, the same writer from the LGBTQ Nation published a second article in the story. This one was far less kind towards Lemaster than the first one. This is second article, same author as the first one, coming down a lot harder on Lemaster after they've had the legal document. This month, I was able to get a statement from an anonymous FSJ board member who described Lemaster's actions as a scorched earth campaign. We did it, actually, yeah. I got a statement from a board member, anonymous. Let's hear it.
The idea that Free State has a white supremacist culture is nothing more than a flat-out lie and slander. It feels like something that was it feels like a statement that was specifically designed to act as a scorched
True, that's such a shallow insult to say you're too online.
earth campaign as Jeremy left the organization. Maybe he was bitter, maybe it was any number of reasons. Either way, it's a flat-out lie. I feel
Can
like
we
the
not?
people who jumped on this immediately once
can
it
we
hit
not?
the public, once it became public and he made a statement, have a similar feeling of bitterness about themselves. This time just directed at Riley. You can be critical of Riley. That's fine. People deserve to be criticized if you think they've done something wrong. But there's zero
Why is the epilogue about Riley Grace
reason
Rochon?
for you to try to drag down an LGBTQ plus organization that has helped thousands of trans, gay, bisexual, and other queer people in the state of Maryland. The idea that Free State has a white supremacist culture is nothing more than a flat-out lie and slander.
Oh, sorry, looped. Sorry. Chat, please do not speculate on the identity of my anonymous source. Why are you laughing? I was laughing because he stumbled over his words the first time he tried to say that. My anonymous source, by the way, please don't speculate. All right. What Demon Mama, Doe, and Gayfest did here was spread completely unverified and possibly defamatory claims against the largest LGBTQ organization in Maryland, just because they saw an opportunity to dunk on someone they had a spat with online. I don't doubt this level of recklessness is justified in their minds because of some social crime Riley committed, which would make her fair game for attack. In Riley's case, it was most likely the pedo-jacketing incident. Whether this stands higher or lower than Fed posting on the hierarchy of internet crimes, I can't say, with Doe. Having looked around for the origins of this charge, the only evidence I was able to find of Riley calling Doe a pedophile was this. Sorry for the leftist audio, by the way.
Okay.
All right, 3, 2,
Really
1.
weird. And a lot of people
Really
who
weird.
come from really
A lot
fun
of
parts of the
people
internet
who come from
are
really
coming
fun
out with
parts of the
really
internet
weird
are coming out
takes
with really
that apparently
weird
think it's
takes
fine to do in front of
that
children. We should be able to
apparently think it's fine to do in front of children. We should be able to justify doing it in front of them, even if it's explicitly involving them in a sexual act. Like, what the fuck is going on? This is unironic. Oh my god, they are either negligently justifying pedophilia or intentionally justifying pedophilia. I have no idea what the fuck it is.
Now, I didn't side with Riley during that.
Then why are you bringing it up?
TGG, incidentally, didn't. I don't know if saying someone is
Who
negligently
would?
or intentionally
Who would
justifying
side with
pedophilia
Riley
means
on
the
this?
same as calling them a pedophile. Personally, when I say someone's making conservative arguments, I don't think that's me calling them a conservative. Apparently there are tweets. I just can't okay, well, but I haven't seen them, so I don't know. In any case,
Oh!
Doe was happy to say that.
This is what Demon Mama meant. So this is what Demon Mama meant when she recently said on stream that someone is trying to revive old RGR drama. This is what she meant. Did she mean this cringy epilogue? When she said on stream recently that someone's trying to revive old drama? Like, I've been wondering what she meant. And I think this is what she meant. You know? Like, I think this is what she
quote
meant.
was Riley calling Doe a pedophile, so like. I suppose if this is your threshold for deciding it's okay to attack someone's real life work and advocacy, I do hope this is a standard that can at least be applied consistently. After all, if one pedo jacketer is fair game, surely all of them are.
What?
Lithium
Nestle
mines.
rapes
You are
children. All
literally
right, well, I'll be
advocating
sure to
right
avoid
now
Nestle
for child
products
raping.
then.
Guys, Vegan Gains just came on my show to advocate about child rapists in favor of
Okay,
child rape.
That's a cool story. So you believe that it's morally acceptable to pay for humans to be murdered?
You think
and turned
you
into
believe it's
meat?
morally acceptable
And
to
you
pay
think
for
I'm a
child
freak?
rape? Yeah, you're a freak.
So
you come
you
on here
think I'm a
advocating for
freak?
child rape by your own worldview. Dude, you're a
No.
child rapist. You like
no,
what do you got?
so-
What else are you paying for? How many subscriptions to child porn sites do you have?
You know, that's maybe a bit more of a pedo jacket than Riley's quote or any quote from Riley that I've seen. I personally don't think invoking pedophilia and people.
Okay. I will ask this. Has Demon Mama been repeating this claim for 6 months straight? I don't think so. Wow. Because as far from what I know, RGR has harassed Doe for months on end.
At all is really a good idea. So that's my position. That's not the question though, right? The
Why is this epilogue?
justifies you going after their
Come
life
on.
advocacy and their life's work
Why?
a year later? Maybe not.
What the hell?
By the way, with that clip, Demon Mama will say that it's actually okay for her to say it to Vegan Gains because he accused her of being okay with eating human meat if it was stocked on the shelves. There's like a back and forth. But the reason he said she was okay with eating human meat if it was on the shelves was actually because of this.
Okay.
But I mean,
So if you
like-
learned right, so if you learned all the meat you were eating right now, it wasn't chicken, it wasn't beef, wasn't whatever. It was actually human beings, and you're being lied to.
Sure.
And the only meat in existence is human beings. Would you go vegan tomorrow?
No, probably not.
Okay.
I think the correct answer to that question, if you don't want to be accused of being okay with eating human meat, I think you're supposed to say yes to that question. That you would go vegan if all the
Okay.
meat in the shops was.
Okay, I don't care about any of this. Like, what are we doing here?
It's a 50-50 chance, really. Could
What are we doing here? This is such a. Are you padding your manifesto now? Did you run out of topics and you're just padding now? Like, what's going on? If you cannot pad your document, just end it. This is my advice to you. When you run out of topics, you just end. You do not pad. This whole epilogue is padding. How is veganism like? Are we even talking about transgenocide still?
What I said at the beginning. I don't expect this to change the minds of anyone involved. This is not for them. This is for myself, my audience, who will now have something to refer to in the
Well,
future,
this is clearly for yourself.
and for any neutral
Like
observer
this thing, that part is clear.
who may not have had the full story of what was going on. Going forward, I expect the people involved and their communities will have no problem rolling around in the mud without me. President
see.
Sunday and Polly people have already fallen out, and
Oh
it
my
doesn't look
gosh.
like the toxicity of Polly and her community was lost on him or his audience. Yeah, President Sunday and Polly had a I don't know what over. I haven't figured that out yet, but they had a bit of a scrap.
You have a big problem understanding things.
Would you
Would you let me finish talking?
You're
Are
talking
you
every
gonna let
time
me
I
talk?
talk
Are you
too.
gonna let me talk? You're gonna talk over me.
We're both talking over each other. This not.
Are
We're
you
doing
gonna
the
let me
same
talk?
thing.
Or are you gonna? Can I talk?
Of course. But we don't have a moderator. Like we don't have like assigned blocks. We don't
Can
just like
I
say
talk?
it is my time. to speak,"
Can I
right? That's not how
talk?
that really works.
Or are you gonna be fucking hardcore misogyny on me?
What?
Are you gonna keep doing your misogyny shit on me? Are you gonna let me fucking
What am I
talk?
doing that's misogynistic?
You won't let me talk. You're bullying me, but you talk
This is an
over me
unmoderated
worse
conversation.
than
We
the
can both
average.
speak at the same time. This happens
Okay.
everywhere.
All right, so you can just talk however you want then. Okay, fine.
Yeah.
Fine.
So can you.
All right. Okay. Okay. Well, then I don't know why we're talking because you can't control yourself. You can't let me finish talking, and now you just gave yourself permission to talk over
This is padding.
me. You're a literal piece of shit, dude.
Yeah, is my comment.
It's all subjective, you guys. All I see here is a scared, vulnerable trans woman being bullied by a bad ally. Okay? It's this. I've blocked poly people on all platforms. I will not be engaging with her any further. Her mod team is toxic. She does not take responsibility for it. And she's now spent about 15 hours of stream time doing nothing but lying about and heckling me. Not just the projection, but also if only there was
Well, what do you know? The thing that President Sunday predicted would happen happened.
someone who this happened to before, who you could have taken an example from. Because she did the same to me. She streamed about me for like a week after talking to me. All of these streams are about me. She's been talking about me for over 20 hours of airtime straight. This is not normal. Liked by Demon. It's this.
Yeah, I know.
This is her in her Discord, by the way. If we're wanting to put
But so this has nothing to do with the trans genocide discourse. Nothing at all.
one more lid on the thing. On the scared trans woman just looking for empathy, whatever. For sure, I don't have too much drama right now, but hopefully someone will be dumb enough to attack me. I've got to send out the fishing line. You know what? I respect this. I respect someone who is very open about her whole thing online. I actually, yes, go off, Queen. All right. At least you know who you're dealing with. I wasn't originally going to use these, but she did say some weird shit when she was.
This is such a Steven Universe thing to say. I think we're gonna have to cleanse our palates and play some game after this. Press 1 if you will want to watch some Final Fantasy V after this. I'm feeling it. I'm feeling like playing Final Fantasy after
Streaming
this.
about me. This is like day 2 or 3 after streaming about me.
No, Loner Box said he doesn't appreciate people calling him
Some
cis because he's figuring out his
relaxation after
gender.
this.
What a defense.
First of all, the clip they're referring to, I was joking. I said like right after the whole, oh, are you calling me cis? That I don't actually care if people call me cis. Like it's fine. But yeah.
It is, yeah. Oh. Why would you say that? Is that just okay, fine. You're a person figuring out your gender. Who is wrong on this? He just doesn't want people calling him cis. And he may be trying to figure out his gender. I'm not going to, say that that's wrong or anything, but it does seem strangely timed, and it doesn't even matter anyway.
Strangely timed. Damn. Not very keen on the self-ID thing going on there.
Why? What do you
By the
mean?
way, I've spoken about myself being like, I don't know, 63% sure that I'm non-binary.
What does that have to do
2020.
with?
So, okay. She said something really weird about this afterwards.
Okay, wait. Hold on a second. Let us take a very alterable.
What does timing have to do with self-ID, first of all? And second of all, trans people are banned from joking. I never joke. Sir Ivane, okay? I never joke. Thank you, Silent Sledge. Consider becoming a Patreon. Okay? Consider becoming a Patreon. It might help me actually getting my transition going. Because trans people are forbidden from joking.
Charitable point of view.
Humor is banned. I
This
never
is
joke.
maximum fucking charity.
Come on!
And of course, it makes me sound like a dumbass that I would even say this, but let me just say it as a possibility. Let's say,
Dumbass, or as they call it in German, Dummchen Aschen. Or Aschen. Dummchen Aschen.
let's say that, so, Loner Box has some neo-lib takes, but, he's overall, there's way worse people out there.
True.
Maybe he is trying to figure out his gender, and maybe if one of the things that he's facing is the chilling effect of some of these policies, that if he really sort of figures it out and feels like, maybe he's trans or whatever, would be very that much more scary to him. Maybe that would be the thing that would put him in denial as to whether there's a genocide going on. Is that way too... Am I being a fucking pussy? Is that me?
Pussy!
I feel like that's me gaslighting myself. But if that's the case, it's too charitable. Yeah. Because if that's the case, then he should be willing to say that. He should be willing to say, well, maybe I'm too wrapped up in this or whatever. That's charitable even for me. Okay. Focus on the facts and what he says in his actions. Right. Sounds like a bullshit smokescreen, yeah. It doesn't excuse it, and it's, it's too charitable just to assume that. But it would be something to say, look, if that's what's going on, just say it then. Just say you're likely wrong on this and we should not listen to you. Right? Because if that's the
I
case,
never joke.
then
I
he's
don't
going
know
to at least,
humor.
say I'm just, I'm on copium right now. So we can all move on.
Copium.
I probably could have sat down and watched all those streams. I would have dug out a lot of very interesting claims there, but I suppose I need to comment on that, really.
Yeah, calm down, please.
I couldn't help but feel bad for President Sunday as she accused him of doing hardcore misogyny, white fragility, and being a bad ally, whilst her community accused his chat of being riddled with transphobia.
Again, this is irrelevant to the issue.
A claim which Sunday's trans viewers obviously haven't taken kindly to. I imagine Polly's comment after this talk must have stung, given that the main complaint about my debate with her was with the way I conducted myself. This is a comment she left under the VOD of President Sunday's debate with her. I would like to provide a minor critique if that's okay. It was literally impossible to say anything because Sunday would constantly interrupt me and talk over me. Even Loner Box didn't do that. If I responded emotionally, it was because Sunday was lying about me and not allowing me to respond uninterrupted. Take that into account. Sunday looks terrible from an outsider's perspective. This is drama from Sunday, not an attempt to understand. Even Loner Box didn't do that. Listen, Sunday, if you ever want to have a long, good faith conversation about your conduct with a vulnerable trans woman, I might not teach you how to be a good ally, but at least a slightly better one who knows how to shut the fuck up when other people are speaking. After this talk must have stung. What the fuck is this? I was thinking of DMing this to him just because it was like after the poly debate, but oh. When communities like these are so inherently self-consuming, maybe the better option is just to stand back and watch.
True.
As a very wise anonymous Twitter user once said, it is an unequivocal good that the woke scold cliques on the left are drying out like fish in the hot sun. Shallow, bankrupt analyses woven into giant time-wasting webs of useless
Exactly. Time-wasting
Woke scrolls will
epilogue.
invent the most inane social crime you've somehow committed, then erase every category you belong to. Their communities are miserable. All they do is procedurally tear each other apart and isolate, incapable of working through anything because they've all invented a local dogma you're supposed to just intuit from being around their grand moral aura. That anonymous Twitter user, of course, is Demon Mom.
I see. Not so anonymous anymore. Okay.
The end. I fucked your mom.
It's the end? Finally. Oh my gosh.
Okay.
Anything else to
I'm gonna
say?
turn my alert box back on. Shit.
Yeah.
That's the patter.
Anything else?
That's the spiel.
I was far too long.
I will be taking. Are
Questions?
you looking for a cover image for this document? Thanks. Thanks very much.
Amazing. Amazing.
I will be taking exactly 3 questions.
Okay.
Can maybe do call-ins. Why are people DMing me? Shit.
Oh my gosh. Let's wait.
Smugbug wants to come in.
Oh, smoke bug.
Oh, by the way, I should have mentioned, Smugbug is an anarchist. Like, he's an anti-state, anti-police, anti-whatever the fuck, anti-capitalist anarchist.
Smoke bug.
With 40 viewers. And Demon Mama calls him literally a Nazi.
I have less than
Like a
40
slab of
viewers.
meat to our audience. Like, it's so
I
disgusting.
have less than 40
Yeah.
viewers.
You can come into the thing.
I should have more viewers.
Helen
Mama!
Degenerate.
Oh, hey, what's up? How are you doing?
You have
Oh,
exactly...
Helen.
give me one argument.
One argument. This is fucking an idiot.
I banned him. All right. Smugbug.
Damn. Jesus, that was brutal.
Hey.
That was ridiculous.
All right, how you doing?
Good. How are you?
Yeah, not too bad. I have a little rant.
I
Because
see.
you've done all the info, I just want to throw out some wild speculation on how this works and why it's happening.
Soy.
All right. Okay. I think this.
Already we're down to the Steven language. Sorry. True. Wow, so brutal.
Starts with Vosh using the transgenocide as like a whole rhetorical rallying cry, right, to get liberals to take the threat seriously, in the same way that people.
Okay, I think we've had enough of this. Now we can play some game. And we can discuss this. I'm not really interested in Smoke Bug enough to listen. If he would have talked to Ellen DeGenerate, then maybe I would have been.